Have you ever looked at an older woman, maybe your mother, your grandmother, or maybe even the reflection staring back at you in the mirror, and wondered, what really happens after 80? Not the version people politely talk about at family gatherings. Not the soft, sugar-coated version that says, "Oh, she's just getting old." I'm talking about the real truth, the quiet, often painful, and sometimes beautiful truth that most people never dare to discuss. Because once a woman crosses 80, life changes in ways that few ever prepare for. The body starts whispering in ways it never did before, little aches that become constant companions, steps that once felt light now take effort. But it's not just the body that changes, the world around her changes too. Friends fade away, the house grows quieter, and suddenly, the things that once filled her days don't feel the same anymore. You start to notice that time doesn't just move, it transforms everything. The laughter, the routines, the faces you once knew by heart, they all begin to feel like distant echoes. And yet, there's a strange kind of strength that lives in that season of life, a wisdom that no youth can ever touch. But to truly understand it, you have to look closer. You have to see beyond the wrinkles and gray hair and notice the stories written in them, stories of love, loss, resilience, and survival. You see, turning 80 isn't just another birthday. It's a milestone that quietly says, you've made it through everything life could throw your way. But it also opens the door to a new chapter, one filled with changes that can test even the strongest hearts. Some are physical, others emotional, and some reach into the very soul. And that's exactly what we're uncovering today. Because if you or someone you love has reached that age, you deserve to know what's really happening, not so you can fear it, but so you can face it with understanding, grace, and strength. In today's video, we're diving into the 4 brutal truths that every woman faces once she turns 80. These are changes most families overlook, not out of neglect, but because no one ever told them what to look for. But once you understand them, you'll start seeing aging in a whole new light, not as the end of a journey, but as a powerful stage of reflection, truth, and meaning. And trust me, the last one will surprise you. It's not what you think. So, if you care deeply about our elderly community, or if you're someone walking this beautiful yet challenging road of aging yourself, take a second to comment below, "I'm still strong." Because you are. Now, let's begin this journey together, and uncover the truths that every woman deserves to know. Picture Mary, a lively, spirited 81-year-old who used to wake up every morning before sunrise, slip on her gardening gloves, and step out into the fresh morning air. For decades, her hands shaped the soil, her flowers blossomed with color, and her heart bloomed with joy. But lately, things have changed. The watering can that once felt light now feels heavy. She still smiles, still says, "I'm fine," but deep down, she knows something's different. The energy she once took for granted now fades faster than she can catch her breath. One morning, her daughter stops by. She finds Mary sitting quietly by the window, her garden untouched. "Mom, aren't you going out today?" she asks gently. Mary smiles faintly and says, "Maybe later. I'm just a little tired." But that tired feeling becomes her new normal. This is what happens to so many women after 80. It doesn't happen overnight, it creeps in softly, almost unnoticed. A little stiffness here, a slower pace there. Until one day, walking across the room feels like climbing a hill. You see, after 80, the body enters a stage where strength fades faster than most people realize. The muscles that once held you steady start to weaken. The bones that carried you for a lifetime begin to lose their density. Even balance, something you never thought about, starts to feel uncertain. Science tells us that after 80, muscle mass can decline twice as fast as it does in your 70s. The metabolism slows, energy drops, and recovery takes longer. Tasks that once seemed effortless, dressing, bathing, or cooking, start to feel like mini-marathons. But here's the part that most families miss: this isn't laziness. It's not a lack of willpower. It's not just getting old. It's the body waging a quiet, relentless war against time, one that can't be won, but can be managed with care and understanding. Unfortunately, many families see these changes and respond the wrong way. They push harder. They say, "Come on, Mom, you just need to move more." They don't see that the body isn't refusing, it's simply reaching its limit. Forcing movement without patience can do more harm than good. The truth is, the goal at 80 isn't to regain youth. It's to preserve what remains, to keep the body mobile, flexible, and strong enough for independence. Because losing strength doesn't just mean losing physical ability, it means losing freedom. And that's why small, consistent movements matter. Gentle chair exercises. Light stretches. A short walk to the mailbox. Even lifting light objects around the house. It's not about breaking a sweat, it's about reminding the body, you can still move. Encourage daily motion, but without pressure. Let rest be part of the rhythm. And celebrate every small victory, because at 80, standing up on your own is no small feat. And if you're listening to this thinking, "That's me," or "That's my mom," remember this, weakness doesn't mean failure. It's simply the body's way of saying, "I've carried you long enough. Let's slow down a little." Because even in that slowing down, there's beauty. There's grace. And there's life still left to live. But as the body begins to change, so does something even deeper. Something that no mirror can reflect, something hidden inside the heart and the mind. A shift that quietly reshapes how a woman feels, thinks, and connects with the world around her. Imagine sitting at the same table you've sat at for decades, the same table where birthdays were celebrated, where family dinners stretched into long nights of laughter and stories. But now, the chairs are empty. The laughter is gone. The phone doesn't ring as often. And the quiet that once felt peaceful now feels heavy. This is the reality for so many women after 80. The house is the same, but the world around them has changed. Friends who once dropped by for tea are gone. Children who used to visit every week now live busy lives miles away. Neighbors move, the community changes, and suddenly, the vibrant social circle that once kept her spirit alive begins to fade, slowly, almost without notice. You might still see her smile when you visit, but what you don't see is the silence that fills the hours after you leave. The TV plays in the background, not for entertainment, but just to fill the quiet. There's a deep, aching loneliness that becomes a silent companion, always there, sitting in the corner of the room. And it's not just emotional, it's physical. Science tells us that loneliness doesn't just affect the heart, it affects the body. Studies have found that chronic loneliness can be as harmful as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. It raises blood pressure, weakens the immune system, and increases the risk of dementia. It's not just feeling lonely. It's the body crying out for connection. But here's the thing, many older women won't admit it. They won't say, "I'm lonely." They'll say, "I'm fine," because that's what they've done their whole lives. They've always been the caretakers, the strong ones, the ones who held everyone else together. And now, when it's their turn to need someone, pride gets in the way. They don't want to be a burden. They don't want to bother anyone. So, they stay quiet, and that silence grows heavier with every passing day. Families often mistake this silence for contentment. They say, "She likes her peace and quiet." But inside, many of these women long for just one conversation that reminds them they're still seen, still heard, still important. Loneliness doesn't always come with tears. Sometimes, it shows up in subtle ways, a loss of appetite, a decline in motivation, or sleeping too much. Sometimes, it's simply the way they stare out the window, watching people pass by and wondering if anyone still remembers them. But here's the truth, it doesn't have to stay that way. Connection is still possible, even in the later chapters of life. A simple phone call can make a world of difference. A video chat, a letter, a small family gathering, or even a weekly visit to a senior community center, these little moments of interaction light up parts of the brain that thrive on connection. If you have an elderly loved one, especially a mother or grandmother, don't wait for her to say she's lonely, assume she is, and show up. Because behind that brave smile is often someone quietly hoping for company. And if you're the one listening who feels that quiet emptiness, know this: it's okay to reach out. It's okay to say, I miss people. You've spent your whole life giving love, it's time you let love come back to you. Because loneliness isn't a weakness. It's a reminder that you still crave life, conversation, and belonging, and that's something to be proud of, not ashamed of. Still, emotional distance isn't the only shift that happens after 80. There's another one, hidden deeper within, one that touches the very core of who you are. It doesn't happen all at once, but it slowly reshapes the way you think, remember, and see yourself in the world. And for many women, it's one of the hardest changes to accept. Sarah was once the family's storyteller, the keeper of memories. She could recall every detail of her wedding day, every birthday her children ever had, every laugh shared around the dinner table. When her grandchildren were little, they would sit on her lap, listening wide-eyed as she painted the past with words so vivid you could almost see it. But now, something's changed. She pauses mid-sentence, searching for a word that won't come. She looks at a familiar face, and for a moment, just a fleeting moment, she can't remember the name. Her grandkids smile and say, "That's okay, Grandma, you're just getting older." They mean well. But Sarah knows something they don't: this isn't just age catching up. It feels like her mind is slowly slipping through her fingers. Behind her gentle smile, there's a quiet fear. A question she never says out loud: am I disappearing? You see, after 80, the mind begins its own battle, one that can be as invisible as it is heartbreaking. The brain, like every other part of the body, starts to change. Science tells us that brain volume shrinks as we age. The connections between neurons, those tiny messengers that help us think, recall, and speak, begin to weaken. Information takes longer to travel. Thoughts come slower. And short-term memory becomes unreliable. This is why you might walk into a room and forget why you went there. Or misplace your glasses, only to find them sitting right beside you. For some, it's mild. For others, it deepens into confusion, disorientation, or moments of panic when a loved one's name simply vanishes. But here's what many people misunderstand: this isn't just normal aging. Yes, forgetfulness happens to everyone, but when it begins to affect daily life, remembering appointments, managing finances, getting lost in familiar places, it could be something more. It could be what doctors call mild cognitive impairment, an early stage of mental decline that can still be managed with awareness, structure, and care. Sadly, families often brush it off. They say, "Mom's fine. She's just getting old." They don't want to face the possibility that something deeper is happening. But denial only makes things harder later on. Because the earlier these signs are noticed, the more a family can do to slow the progression, not stop it entirely, but to help the person hold on to as much of themselves as possible. If you're caring for someone going through this, remember, patience is everything. Repeating themselves doesn't mean they're trying to annoy you. Forgetting details doesn't mean they don't care. It's their mind fighting to hold on. And for the one living through it, it's important to remember, you're still you. You are not your forgetfulness. You are not your condition. You are still the same woman who built a family, who loved, who gave, who lived. The memories may fade, but the impact you've made doesn't. So how can we help? Keep the mind engaged. Talk about memories often, even if they've been told 100 times. Encourage puzzles, reading, music, or journaling. Music, especially, has a powerful way of reaching parts of the brain untouched by time. A familiar song can unlock memories when words fail. Simple routines also make a difference: waking up at the same time, labeling familiar objects, keeping a calendar in sight. These little acts give the brain anchors to hold on to when the fog sets in. And perhaps most importantly, keep them connected. Conversations. Laughter. Presence. These aren't luxuries, they are medicine for the mind. Because even when memory begins to drift, emotion remains. They may forget what you said, but they'll remember how you made them feel. If you've ever looked into the eyes of someone you love and seen that flicker of confusion, followed by a faint smile of recognition, you know exactly what that means. Deep inside, they're still there. Still fighting to hold on to every piece of the life they've lived. But as the mind starts to shift, another transformation begins to unfold, one that runs even deeper than memory or thought. It's something that touches the spirit, the very heart of who a person is. And that's where the final truth begins. A truth that catches many families off guard. Because it's not about the body, or the mind. It's about the soul. The quiet spiritual awakening, or sometimes, the gentle surrender, that comes when a woman reaches her 80s. At 80, something remarkable happens, not in the body, not even in the mind, but deep within the soul. For some, it feels like a gentle awakening. For others, it's a quiet surrender, a peace that settles after decades of noise, duty, and striving. Sarah, like many women her age, begins to see life through a different lens. The rush that once defined her days is gone. The need to prove, to compete, to plan ahead, it all begins to fade. In its place comes reflection. She looks back not to dwell, but to understand. She thinks of her younger years, the laughter, the mistakes, the dreams she chased, and the ones she let slip away. There's a softness in her now. She no longer asks, "What's next?" but instead, "What did it all mean?" Psychologists call this stage of aging the life review. It's not just a random flood of memories, it's the mind's way of seeking meaning and closure. It's a natural process of looking back over one's life, reconciling the past, forgiving old wounds, and finding peace with the person you've become. And though it might seem quiet from the outside, a woman sitting by the window, lost in thought, inside, it's one of the most profound emotional experiences a human being can go through. It's not sadness. It's not depression. It's transformation. You see, when we reach our later years, the heart begins to crave truth more than time. The small worries that once felt heavy, what people thought, what we didn't achieve, what didn't go as planned, they start to lose their grip. What matters now are the simple things, love, connection, forgiveness, and the quiet satisfaction of knowing you've lived. Yet, loved ones sometimes misunderstand this silence. They see their mother sitting in stillness, staring into the distance, and they worry, is she lonely, or is she giving up? But in reality, she's doing something sacred, she's sorting through a lifetime of memories, tying together the loose threads, finding meaning in every season she's lived through. Some women turn deeply to faith. Others turn inward, finding spirituality not in rituals, but in reflection, in the rustle of the trees, in a familiar hymn, in the laughter of their grandchildren. For some, it's about making peace with the past, for others, it's about letting go of regret. It's a time when the heart whispers what the world never taught us to say out loud. I forgive. I am thankful. I am ready. And that readiness isn't about surrendering to death, it's about embracing life in its purest, simplest form. It's about seeing that everything, every loss, every victory, every tear, was part of something meaningful. But this stage can be fragile if misunderstood. When older adults reflect deeply, some families rush to change the topic, trying to cheer them up. They say things like, "Oh, don't think about the past, Mom," not realizing that this reflection is vital. It's healing. It's how she integrates the story of her life, how she finds peace in her own humanity. That's why it's so important to allow space for these conversations. Let them share their stories. Even the ones they've told before. Especially those ones. Because every retelling is not just nostalgia, it's their way of reaffirming who they are. It's how they hold on to their identity while making peace with time. Ask them. What's something you've learned about life? What do you still hope for? What do you want us to remember? These questions don't just honor them. They strengthen the bond between generations. They transform silence into connection and aging into wisdom. And in those quiet moments, when she speaks softly of the days long gone, or smiles at a memory only she can see, something sacred happens. You can feel the bridge between what was and what is, between youth and eternity. Because the truth is, at 80, the heart knows something that the young cannot yet understand. That life was never about how long it lasted, but how deeply it was lived. So, when you see her smile faintly as she looks out the window, don't rush her back into conversation. Let her be there. In that moment. In that peace. She is remembering not just her past, but herself. And that's where it all comes together, the body, the mind, and the soul, each telling its own story of time, truth, and transformation. Because aging isn't an ending. It's the masterpiece that time paints when a life has been fully lived. And when all three, body, mind, and soul, find harmony, that's when the true beauty of aging begins to shine. Watching these changes unfold in someone you love, or even within yourself, isn't easy. It's like saying goodbye in small pieces. Not all at once, but slowly, gently, quietly. The strong hands that once built a home now tremble a little when holding a cup. The eyes that once sparkled with confidence now pause to remember familiar faces. And the heart that once carried everyone else's worries now just wants to rest, not in defeat, but in peace. But here's something we often forget, every one of those changes carries wisdom. Each wrinkle is a story written by time. Each slow step is a reminder of the miles already walked. And every moment of silence is filled with lessons only a lifetime could teach. So instead of fearing what comes with age, we can learn to embrace it, with understanding, with compassion, and with readiness. Because when we know what to expect, we stop reacting with panic, and start responding with love. You see, aging isn't something that needs to be fought. It needs to be understood. When a woman crosses 80, her world doesn't end, it simply transforms. Her pace slows, but her insight deepens. Her body may weaken, but her wisdom grows stronger. And when families recognize that, when they truly see her, listen to her, and honor her, something beautiful happens. Aging becomes connection, not isolation. So, if you've noticed these changes, in your life or in someone you love, don't ignore them. Don't rush past them. Take time today to reach out. Call your mother. Visit your grandmother. Sit with that elderly neighbor who always waves from the porch. Ask how they're really doing. Sometimes, the smallest gestures, a gentle touch, a shared story, a quiet cup of tea, make the biggest difference. Because in the end, what every older heart longs for isn't pity, it's presence. They don't need us to fix what's changing, they just need us to walk beside them as it does. And if you're the one going through this season yourself, let this message reach you deeply, you are not alone. Yes, the body slows down. Yes, the days feel quieter. But that quietness holds truth. That stillness holds peace. Growing older isn't just about decline, it's about depth. It's about seeing the world not through the eyes of urgency, but through the eyes of gratitude. Every wrinkle tells a story of survival. Every scar is proof that healing is possible. Every gray hair shines with the wisdom of experience. You've lived through storms and sunshine, through love, loss, laughter, and lessons. And now, at this stage of life, you carry something no one else can, the gift of perspective. So, remember, after 80, the 4 truths most women face are these. The body's quiet rebellion, as strength fades faster than expected. The emotional drift, when loneliness becomes a silent companion. The battle within the mind, when memory becomes a stranger. And the spiritual awakening, when the heart begins to seek peace and meaning. But let's be clear, none of these are signs of weakness. They are signs of being human. They are the natural rhythms of life reminding us that we are part of something far greater than ourselves. So tell me, which of these truths have you noticed in your own journey, or in someone you love? Has your mother or grandmother faced one of these changes? Have you felt one of them yourself? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your story might comfort someone who needs it today. Because sometimes, hearing, "You're not alone," is the medicine the soul needs most. And if this message touched your heart, subscribe to Elderly Wisdom Guide. This is where we share stories that honor aging, stories that remind us that every stage of life, even the final ones, can be beautiful, meaningful, and full of light. Here, we don't see aging as the end of something, we see it as the beginning of wisdom. Thank you for spending this time with me. And as you go about your day, remember this. Age doesn't define your worth, it reveals your wisdom. Stay kind. Stay strong. And I'll see you in the next video, right here on Elderly Wisdom Guide.